Hi guys, my name's Adele Onyango and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Welcome to episode 64. I am so thankful that you're listening to this podcast. Join our tribe on Instagram. That's at Legally Clueless Podcast. And also, we have been syndicated. So you can listen to the podcast on Trace Radio. You can find the frequencies for those in Kenya on traceradio.co.ke or stream it online there. Although, if you're listening to this episode, you're probably listening to it on a platform that, you know what? I'm not going to overthink this. I really do hope that you're okay. It has taken me 5 hours longer than usual to start working on this episode. So usually I record the podcast episodes and produce the episodes on Sunday. Now, usually I'm up by like 10 a.m. and the latest that I would start working on an episode is like 11. How did I start working on this at like 3 something? It's just been an intense week, and on a personal level, I think an intense couple of days. So an intense week just because of everything that is happening. First, there's this pandemic that has its own wave of madness. Then it's police brutality, not only in Kenya, but in various countries. I've been reading up about what's happening in Togo, what is happening obviously in the States. And you just end up absorbing that and trying to figure out what your rule is, which I'm going to get to in a bit. But on a personal level, I have lost 2 people that I knew. And yeah, it just makes you feel a certain way. So first, before I get into the personal things, let me talk a bit about, what's happening globally wherever you are listening to this from. Obviously, in Kenya, police brutality is something that people and organizations have been speaking about for a long time. In fact, if you go to YouTube and you check out this channel, it's Africa Uncensored. I remember a couple of months ago watching, actually, you know what? I'll put the link in the description. I remember this series they did on extrajudicial killings. It kind of just makes you wonder, first, what system is this we're living in? And how can you be part of the solution? Like, what does that look like? What's my role, right? And so you'll see people talking about this online, people hitting the streets and protesting. I don't know if it's just me, but constantly, whenever there's something that requires active citizenship, for me, the question is, all right, what is my rule? Sometimes it's very clear what my rule is, especially when it comes to things around gender-based violence, because that's something that unfortunately I know and I've experienced firsthand. But sometimes my rule isn't that clear and it can get so overwhelming trying to figure out what is my rule and what does it look like, right? So I've been thinking about that a lot. And I think that people's voices look differently. I know that sounds weird. Like, what look do voices have? They look differently. There are some people's voices that are needed on ground in protests, very necessary. There are some people who are needed in a more strategic role, mapping out what the protest would look like. There are some people whose voice looks like, maybe because they're more proficient in the law, but it looks at policies and laws and the gaps that are there that are allowing injustices to just go on unchecked. There are people whose voices look like various forms of art and using that art to amplify injustices. So it could be films, photography, stories, poetry, words, I don't know, just various forms of art to amplify certain injustices or voices or realities, yeah? The list is endless because we all have kind of different passions and different strengths. As much as the list is endless, I think what's important to know is every voice is needed and that finding your voice is very important to self, to you, but it's also very important on like a humanity level, you know what I mean? Yeah, so those are things that I have been thinking about. And then obviously because of what's been happening on a personal level, I've just been wondering about life. And like I have a PhD in overthinking. So I've just been like thinking about life and purpose and why am I alive, which can be a very scary question to pose to yourself because the answer can be very dark, or sometimes you might not even have an answer, which is very scary, right? I've been thinking about what's the point of life. I told you, PhD in overthinking, man. You know, the nature of everything that happened also led me to think about how can I be there for others when there are moments where I need all of me to be there for me as well. So it's just like, whew, how do you juggle all of those things without feeling guilty? I really don't have concrete answers to all of this. This isn't one of those episodes where I have a solution or I give you an app. It's like download this but I think what has been slightly healing for me is finding outlets that allow me to just breathe. One has been going out to nature, which I did once yesterday. So one of my friends took me literally to the border of Nairobi because of the pandemic, Nairobi is on lockdown. And so to the last junction before the barrier that the police have up. So my friend was saying, we're literally living on the edge. But she took me to a beautiful space that is just full of greenery and just trees. It's like a home. It's actually where I got married. It's a home with like just trees and grass. And we just laid out blankets and just sat and talked. And that was very refreshing to me. Maybe also because I've not left the house in I don't know how long. But also because I could, weirdly enough, maybe it's a friend, but I could share about thoughts that I was previously scared to share because I was wondering if people would be worried. How do I explain this? So like, I don't know if it's only me who feels this, like when you're going through something. Actually, I said it in a couple of episodes ago. When you're going through something, I don't like sharing about it because I don't want to be a burden to other people. And then I also don't want people to panic about me too much because I'll always figure it out somehow. But I want to be able to be vulnerable without people going into a panic. So sometimes I just then don't be vulnerable because I'm like, yeah, guys are just going to be panicked. But being in that setting, I don't know how it happened. Maybe it's nature. Nature is weird and powerful. I just found myself sharing thoughts that previously I was too scared to share because of those reasons. Another outlet is writing. So I've been writing poetry. I've actually shared one piece on my website. God, it was so scary to do that, but I'll share the link to it in the description. I've always loved poetry. I feel such a great sense of relief once I have written a piece. It's like taking a dump, an emotional dump. And I wrote so much. I think in 1 hour, I don't even know what happened. Maybe I was just like stressed to the brink. In 1 hour, I wrote 5 different poems, which is wild. Like that never happens for me. But it felt good and refreshing afterwards. I don't know why the kids in my hood are screaming, but you know what? Maybe that's their outlet. But anyways, away from that noise, yeah, so that has been a great outlet for me. And crying. Oof, I have cried a lot. But that's also something that makes me feel nice afterwards. Like after I've cried, I feel very refreshed. My best friend Val calls me the crier. She's like, you cry a lot. I'm like, yup. It just feels so good afterwards. So those are like my coping. I don't have solutions in this episode. I just know that going out to nature did a thing for me. Writing my poetry did a thing for me. And crying. Ooh. But another thing that has been working for me is music. And I've found this musician whose music is just so healing for me. I heard of her music a couple of years ago, but then I just forgot to check up on what she's been doing more recently. And then I stumbled on it sometime this week and it's just been so healing. Oof. So I made sure that I have to put one of her songs as a song of the week because I'd love her music to have that effect on you. Her name is Mereba and the song of the week is Planet You. It's a love song, but there's something very healing about it. I don't know. Something very healing about it. But I would encourage you to check out all of her other music because I've just been listening to all her songs on replay. But Planet You is one that I'd love you to check out. And so I'll link it in the description. On 100 African Stories, this episode, Chimano shares such a beautiful string of stories and, you know, with a nice dose of humor, but also vulnerability. And I'm so thankful that he allowed himself to be vulnerable with me and in extension with you. And he talks about adulting, which is just something else altogether, but also just experiences as a young, kind of socially awkward child who then grew up to be this icon, and the social anxieties that come with that. I don't know. After listening to his story, I genuinely felt the need for everyone to just be a bit kinder to the next person. But I'm now giving away too much. Listen to his story.
100 African stories.
There is no proper life that you live in university as a musician.
If I constantly just walked around feeling sorry for myself, I'm never going to get anything done.
There's a bit of frustration in between all of that.
I've been breaking my back for this company.
Therapy is not for the weak or for the crazy.
Stories from Africa.
Hi, I'm Willis Austin Chimano. From Africa. From Kenya, from Nairobi. I'm almost going into my estate, but I guess not. I am African first and Kenyan second. That just means this comes from, I've always been that person when people say that I went to Africa and it was amazing, and then I see Africans answering, and mostly on YouTube comments and things like that. Mostly I'd see them answering, no, Africa has 53 or 54, those ones, countries, and you need to be able to know what country you're going to. But then, eventually I was also like, it's actually not a bad ring, it's a bad ring to it. Like, it's Africa, it should be a country. I got to a space where I don't really take offense with people saying I went to Africa, because in an ideal world, in my mind, Africa should be a country. Of course, that maybe might stem from ignorance on their part, the person who's saying they came to Africa. But for me, I think I choose to take it as, keep talking like that, speak it into existence. Thoughts become things. The part that is called growing up really has been so interesting, so weird. I move from one space to another, but then so fast. Yeah, you almost feel as if, like, at some point you grow up, like within a year you've grown up so many times. It's so daunting, where you have to, you have to work, and then also being in the public eye, it's so much pressure, especially now, because it really does affect sometimes my mental psyche, for sure. Like, even at some points I'm just like, Jesus, do I really need this? It's interesting growing up. Of course, like, when I started paying my rent and things like that, but then also when I started paying taxes. Hey! It's like, but this is my man. Why? And I'm just like, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. I'm just like, no. Like, have you seen our roads? Have you seen our hospitals? Have you seen, like, our services? And I think more and more it's people would like to think of something deeper than that. But I would say that literally things that affect my life, my basic living in this country and moving through life, for me to even just be successful in what I do, when it came to a point where I realized, what your rights, what really is a right of yours. When as I said, paying taxes and this and that, and then when you grow up and now look at your systems and your politicians, and then you realize, like, guy, like, what is this? And then, of course, now with that, there's also a family where you, as an African, you have this thing called black tax. So I never understood the severity of what that means. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy and I take delight in supporting my family, things like that. But like, that's another just emotional bag that is on you. That's when you do when I realize also the hardships that my parents go through, to just even go through even now. And when people from the outside, like my relatives, would look at us and be like, but see, you're a successful musician. As in, your mom should be living in a wonderful big house and have a car and drivers and things like that. You do realize Jesus, like life is just so complex. It sometimes even gets to a point where my folks don't even want to ask me for anything because they're just like scared. Like they're just like, we don't want to bother him. So it's just those things. They keep hitting you in phases. From the time I was small, like I look back at the little boy that I was, and sometimes I wish I could just go back and hug him and tell him that you'll be fine, because I was just this socially awkward human being. I was just awkward and scared, who used to leave the house and just stand on the wall of the house and just watch other kids play. For some reason, I don't know, I just felt intimidated. I just felt, when I think about it, I probably felt that I'm not good enough to play with the other kids. I remember this one time I when Lion King came out. Where? I was just like, where? We just got in a VCR. We just got in a VCR. In fact, it came in 2 sets. So, 2 sets. Let me tell you, it was silver in color and it was Olympus. Why? I remember one was almost the size of a little briefcase, and the other one I think was like the battery or like the support system. We had our fast color TV. I also remember my mom got that. Where? Happiness. Fast that TV. Then we had this stereo that looked like a boombox. Because I'm the one who was the arranger of the living room. Now then the VCR. Both of them were in front of the stereo. So I was just like, hey, how do you operate this? Put it on. I'll get to the Lion King. Put it on. Put it on. Where? So that thing where the tape is supposed to go just burst up. I was just like, hey. Where? Come on, Robocop. I was so amazed. Oh, anyway. Here's this kid looking for validation, looking to have friends, but then I'm awkward. But Lion King came out, and my cousins had the tape. So they lived in Buruburu then. I lived in Comarock Estate. So went to my cousins, and I was just like, in my head, Eureka, great idea. Come on now, can I please borrow your tape? I am about to be the hero of the hood. So tape is given. That was a precious commodity, Lion King. I just gave word to maybe what we had have considered a friend of mine, and literally the whole estate came to my house to watch Lion King. I remember the pride that I felt then, looking around the living room, and I'm just seeing the popular kids in the hood, like they're sitting in my living room, we're all watching Lion King. Press the VCR, goes up, like robotic and shit. And then I'm just like, yes, like look at me in action. When I look at that boy, I'm just like, wow, Chim. It's like you were not, there was nothing wrong with you. Yeah, you were just different. So this is even how awkward. I've always had a fear of, and I think when I think about it, I had a fear of speaking up, of expressing myself. I've only just started gaining confidence in expressing myself in my late 20s. I just could never like say no. I've always just been that person of avoiding confrontation, keeping the peace. I'm that human being, and like for my folks, like, I couldn't tell them something as simple as, I'm having breakfast every morning before going to school. So me, it was jam, bread, tea. But then, at some point, I think I thought that was like being a bit too monotonous. So, before school, as my mom is like trying to hurry me up to leave, I used to take the bread and throw it behind the fridge. So then, of course, ants always sell you out. Where there was a whole colony were marching. They were ready for the bread and the jam. I was Twangwad. Where? Why are you crying? Oh, you're not crying? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to cry to you? I can't blame my folks for not bringing that. I don't know. I don't know. Say like I'm gonna say, but then not in a bad way, to help me like in terms of expressing myself or understanding maybe the kid that I am. For me, I think for them it was just like I'm this nice quiet kid. And that's fine. It's only until recently, like even the other day, I think I put posts on IG stories, and I was just like, I am done being an apologist. That I've been an apologist thus far. Sometimes I'd say sorry for even stuff that I didn't need to say sorry for. And what got me is that sometimes people are just like, no, it's okay, it's okay. So I think the more people said like it's okay, then and at some point, and I'm realizing like, why did I say sorry? And also another thing is that I became that person who, when I'm complimented, I don't know how to take it, and I suppress whatever it is that I'm being complimented for. Even, for example, when I realized that I could sing, first of all, people made fun of because my voice broke really. This little boy, and then like my voice is just like a guy, it's like a whole like a drum. To an extent, like when people made fun of my voice in that way, and then later on I realized, okay, fine, this voice can make a joyful noise. When even people compliment me about like you're amazing, your voice is so wonderful, I don't know, like I shy away from it, from accepting that, to a point I don't even know how to take compliments. I don't. When I'm on stage, sometimes it's freeing to be on stage, because maybe that's one of the only places I can express myself without really talking much. And like honestly, that it does take a toll, which is why just being in my home, like I cherish it so much, because of where I can just be chim. Because you can imagine the boy that I was, and then now I've grown up to become this person who people like recognize. It's people monitor every move. It's torture sometimes. It's torture. It's like, oh my God, everything's working out. It's amazing, but wow, when you leave the house, it can be it's just I can literally feel the eyes sometimes. I can literally feel people talking when I can literally feel people laughing at my fashion choices. You know what? Stuck it up. But but I can feel people laughing at my fashion choices. It's even how fashion or how you dress is already a testament of your masculinity. People already think they know you. People already judge you. People just already form an opinion of you. It is a bit frustrating in a career that I need to be able to express myself. And honestly, anything that anyone wears, anyone has on their body, was on a runway somewhere. So just like slow your roll just a bit, but it's fine. We don't always have to agree. But then for me, it's just the uncomfortability of it all. And some would argue then that you're in that field, so if you're not prepared to take the criticisms, then just fall back. But I'm just like, no, I'm a human being, I have feelings too. And sometimes that also causes me to really act out. Because I remember there was this one time we were in Australia, and then I posted a photo. It was after a gig. Of course, I'd painted my nails black. I just want some pants. I'd want this really cute top. Yes, to the designer. Good. So I'd want this amazing outfit. And I'm just like taking a photo, and then I was wearing the amazing jewelry as well. So then I post this, and then the backlash, the insults. And that day also, I had 1 or 10. I just sat there and I was just like, literally, people think that they can just come on there and step on me and think they can tell me this nonsense, and I have nothing to say about it. So I really went on the rampage. I really went in. I sometimes feel like that maybe you need not to burst, like an outlet. Because sometimes I also feel like I'll give myself bit by bit, so that people don't really get to know all of me, because I still need parts of me to stay with me. So by me even doing that was just a way of like a bit of like a closure, like for people to know that I'm just not this quiet boy who has no witty comebacks or who cannot shade you to filth. It was one of those things where I was just like, tonight I have time. And sometimes now, even when I think back, I'm just like, was it necessary? Because also, you're told don't take everything that everyone tells you to heart. I do get that. But then also sometimes I feel you kind of do what your gut tells you to do. Just the other day, I completed my vision board. I felt like I was 20 again, but then, because I did one like when I was in my mid-20s. And like, but then this time it's just how I did it and what the things that I wanted out of life. And it was just so much different from what you want like when you're 25. I feel like we're always searching for like some sort of peace in terms of, and peace that peace that makes you at peace with everyone, even if people don't necessarily like you or insult you, but that's you're at peace. Not to make peace, but you're at peace. And I feel still I am well on the way there. Now I speak up. Now I speak up because it just doesn't sit well with me if I don't. I feel like I've betrayed myself if I don't. At some point I thought like I'd wasted time and no, but then also I'm just like no. Now I'm speaking up from from a point not of knowledge, just from a point of reason. In the grander scheme of things, I think I need to do more, for sure. I do not take lightly when people come for people because of their sexuality. I do, especially when the reasoning is just so damn stupid. I really cannot take that. I do not take just simple judgment from just people being very simple in their way of reasoning and thinking. And as I do avoid Twitter because so many times I have found a place I found that I'm writing something or replying to someone and I'm just like, ooh, Chimano, this tweet, you're one tweet away from trending with insults, or like you're one tweet away from being just that tweet being picked. And I do stop myself there. I think I do when it comes to social media. Yes, I do more on IG from person to person. If I feel like there's something not right, now I do tell you. It's so freeing. In fact, that sometimes informs who I'm speaking to, which calls I'm taking, what I'm wearing. I can have a fire outfit and then I'll just be like, hey, but if I leave, well, I have to calculate sometimes. Am I stopping by the gas station? Am I getting into the store? If I do, which one has less people so that people don't stare at me? I don't feel like people are talking about me. Like yesterday, my friend Max sent me for cigarettes when I was coming from studio. And I was wearing like this proper flare pants, like proper bell bottoms, whatever they are, with like a small ass jacket. So of course when he sent me, I was just like, oh God, Jesus. So like I was driving from now, I was on Gong Road to James Gishuru. I'm just like, so which petrol station am I going to? I'm in my head, like it's funny, but then I'm just like, Jesus, it's also serious. Like I have to calculate where am I going to go so that I don't meet a lot of foot traffic, that I can just be in out. And then I stopped at the Lavington gas station there. Then I parked the car and I look around. Jesus, I've actually never said this. Then I'm just like, okay. So normally I would get out of the car and go walk behind. I mean, walk behind like. But then here I'm getting out of the car and walking in front of the cars. There's a bushes and then walking in front of the cars. And then like it's just silly, it's just silly because I don't want to walk behind the cars because maybe the cars are at the gas station filling up. So as I walk, drivers are just looking at me with my big ass pants and like my small t-shirt and my jacket. And when you think about it, what I'm wearing, it's something that was literally worn in the 70s. Yeah. And then that happens to be the day that the cash register just jams. And I'm just like, really, universe? Really? We're going to do this now? Okay, fine. Yeah, it's things like that make me realize how anxious I can be and how I have to really do mental math all the time. You can't just be yourself. You have to be a different person when you're dealing with different people because you don't want to maybe scare them off, or you're scared of the opinion they're going to form of you already. When I leave the house, sometimes I just feel, yeah, and maybe it's why I really do also enjoy and always look for excuses not to leave the house. The when I notice that I'm different is Aki, that little boy Chimano, he suffered. But he was happy. Let me tell you, I was a weirdo. My mom let me cook once in a while in the kitchen. So from like a young age, I used to know how to light the gas. Maskini used to get a stool One day oil almost fell on my face. Guy, my beauty would not be here. So then, where? I remember this one time. Well, this story has nothing to do with anything, but then it just has something to do with how an awkward kid I was. My cousin came over. So I'm just like, gonna make you eggs today. Yellow, yellow, yay. So I'm gonna fry you up some eggs, put in some bread. I'm there cooking the eggs. I think I was like, 8 years old. Happiness galore. I'm just seeing how the egg is like frying nicely. It's not getting stuck to the pan. Chimano, bright idea. Eureka. I can give it to you with tea, and then I can pour juice on the pan. And you know those days, like, we were quencha deep. Where I remember by the time I took the egg to my cousin, it was a bit orange. But then I just thought, wow, what a wonderful color. I mean, it's just like, I have done well. Take it to my cousin, and then my cousin's just like, Chwana, make a juice kwa hii mayai. I'm just like, Put juice in a recognized priest. My mom used to have this amazing gospel tapes. Amazing. I remember she had this one South African one. Guy, the music was wonderful. Like, even I listened to it was so good. I was just like, yes, layer, vocals, everything. But then I took that tape, and then that was the time I think Celine Dion had released When You Touch Me Like This, When You Hold Me Like That, but it's all coming back to me. Yeah, clever little brat. So I don't know how I learned that trick of like put the tape in, press record and play. Where? How did I sing? I sang, it's all coming back to me now. There were moments of gold and there were flashes of light. There were things I never do again, but then they always seem right. There were nights of endless pleasure. And I'm just like, remember, this is a comeback. That's my mom. My mom is gonna come back to, and likes to listen to. She didn't listen to it then. I think it was the weekend. She's just like, Chim, bring me that cassette of mine. We play it. So I don't know. In my head, I think I thought that maybe somehow it returns. It just rubs itself. Something. Hey. Let me just say, I was twangwad, like, again. As I'm being who I am, it's just also to always also remember that there's a lot of people out there who care about you. Because I always used to as well focus on like, oh my God, I need to do this so that people, or I can't do this because people are going to hate me, blah, blah, blah. But then, a friend of mine once told me that, you know what, like you totally think on the other side, but you forget. And maybe it's also unfair, like to the people who really love you, the people who are always there for you. You know that and you see that. Can you just focus on that? Like, remember those people. Like, don't just listen to them and let their words just go, or not feel their love. Remember you're loved. That's it.
Catch our next African stories in the next episode.
I laughed so hard during the recording of that story, my God. Why would you put quencha in eggs? But, I've known Chimano for quite a while, but I think after this story I got to know him on a very intimate level and just understanding some of the fears that come with the space that he's in and the person that he is. And I just really wish that we would give people the space and the room for them to just be who they are. I think over the years I understood that once I allowed myself to be whoever it is that I am, to express myself, to evolve, to grow, to unlearn, to learn, then I gave people around me that same environment as well to be able to do that for themselves. So I guess the major key is allowing yourself to be, then allows you to allow others to be. You kind of reserve your judgment of people and you take them as they are and you meet them where they are. Yeah. I really liked his story. And I'm so thankful that you've listened to this episode. Remember, you too can share your story on this podcast. This past week, I've recorded quite a few Legally Clueless listeners. All you have to do is first send a 1-minute demo on WhatsApp to the hotline number +254 768 628 790. And really, that demo should just be you telling me the story that you want to share. I'll then work on a few story prompts for you, and we'll set up a date that I can record you remotely. There's that. And remember, yes, join the tribe at Legally Clueless Podcast. That's on Instagram. And that's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.